99% chance you pick the right one. So.
To discuss the most commonly asked questions. Cecile, you have your PhD in biochemistry and you're the Director of Product Safety here at doTERRA. We know you have all the right answers for us. And Alex, you're the Director of Nutraceutical Development and Innovation. So first to you, Alex, what is Copaíba's main benefit?
The great thing about Copaíba is that it can be used aromatically, topically, and internally. Aromatically, it has a scent that is often characterized as calming, which is why we put it in the adaptive blend. Topically, it has skin-soothing effects, as we found in our AromaTouch pilot trial, and has been shown in experimental research to help maintain youthful-looking skin. When used internally, daily, clinical and experimental research has shown that Copaíba may be supportive of the digestive and nervous systems, and even help with joint complaints.
So, is there a dumbed-down version of why Copaíba is better than CBD?
The endocannabinoid system helps the body manage anxiety, inflammation, and other physiological responses to different forms of stress. The system can be activated in response to a stressor by compounds produced within the body, endocannabinoids, and also some plant-derived compounds, phytocannabinoids. There are two types of cannabinoid receptors, CB1 and CB2. The CBD acts on both CB1 and CB2 receptors, meaning that along with its benefits, it may have some side effects. Beta-caryophyllene, the dominant compound found in Copaíba, selectively interacts only with CB2, meaning that it may offer the benefits without the possibility of psychoactive effects.
So is Copaíba a cannabinoid?
Copaíba itself is not a cannabinoid, but its primary constituent beta-caryophyllene is, or more correctly, a phytocannabinoid. A phytocannabinoid is a plant-synthesized molecule that can interact with endocannabinoid receptors. While other essential oils such as melissa and black pepper also contain beta-caryophyllene, Copaíba is the source with the highest known concentration.
Is Copaíba safe to use during pregnancy and breastfeeding, Cecile?
We don't have reason to suspect that using Copaíba during pregnancy or breastfeeding would be harmful, but research on pregnant women and babies is highly restricted and often considered ethically questionable. So, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of good studies on the safety of essential oils during pregnancy or breastfeeding. It's important to have a good relationship with your healthcare provider and discuss your oil and supplement usage regularly. There may be instances where your healthcare provider may agree that essential oil usage during pregnancy or breastfeeding may be perfectly safe, for example, as part of a soothing massage or diffused aromatically. In other cases, and for other oils, it may be best to wait until after pregnancy and breastfeeding. For the most part, it is a decision made on a personal level under the care of a doctor or midwife.
Okay, so how does Copaíba interact with CB receptors? How is it different from cannabis?
Well, research has shown that the primary constituent contained in Copaíba, beta-caryophyllene, can have selective interaction with CB2 receptors. These specific receptors are located primarily on the surface of white blood cells, and their activation affects the regulation of inflammation chemicals called cytokines. Cannabis, on the other hand, contains two primary phytocannabinoids, THC and CBD. THC is known to activate both CB1, which is found primarily in the brain and central nervous system, and linked with pleasure and reward pathways, and CB2 receptors. Due to CB1 activation, THC may have some positive benefits, but also powerful psychoactive properties. CBD, or cannabidiol, is quite unique among phytocannabinoids in that its direct interaction with receptors is so weak that it is essentially negligible. CBD actually acts on an enzyme which breaks down anandamide. CBD actually slows down the enzyme activity, which leads to increased levels of anandamide in the body. The neurotransmitter anandamide interacts with CB1 and CB2 receptors. Higher levels of anandamide would result in increased feelings of euphoria due to increased activation of CB1 receptors, as well as soothing of the tissues due to activation of CB2. Because of the selective interaction, beta-caryophyllene offers many of the benefits that come from activation of the endocannabinoid system without the possibility of psychoactive effects.
Now let's talk a little bit about Onguard. Has there been studies conducted to see if Onguard kills viruses or bacteria?
Onguard Protective Blend was formulated to have powerful cleansing properties, among other things. Each of the essential oils contained in the blend have been shown in research individually to have potent cleansing properties. 2 studies have been published on the entire Onguard blend. Our biomap study that evaluated the effects of the blend on human cells, and an in vitro study conducted at the University of Oklahoma. Both peer-reviewed studies provided powerful evidence for the efficacy of the Onguard blend. In this context, the University of Oklahoma study provided the most relevant results. Overall, there is a very large body of evidence from previous research on essential oils, internal testing, and peer-reviewed research on the blend itself to substantiate Onguard's powerful cleansing properties.
If you use oil in drinking water, supplements, and a rollerball, is that too much?
Regardless of the different application methods, it all comes down to the total amount of essential oil exposure and your personal tolerance. This is exactly what we are investigating with our ongoing pharmacokinetic studies. We always recommend that people start with the lowest possible amount and increase based upon experience, as long as you are following recommended guidelines and are not experiencing any signs of toxicity. Your essential oil exposure is likely not too much. Remember, if you have a medical condition or you're taking medication, it is important to talk to your healthcare provider before using oils or supplements. And if you are experiencing any signs of toxicity, stop using the product and seek medical attention.
With so many different products or ways to use Onguard, people wonder if they can use too much Onguard.
Actually, the reality is that a person can use too much or overdose on just about anything. The good news is that when used as directed and with some common sense, essential oils are generally safe to use and do not pose danger of overdose. When it comes to essential oils, we keep in mind some general precautions like avoiding large doses at a time, keeping out of the reach of children, considering the use of childproof caps on oils if you have small children, and considering the use of all your essential oil products combined to make sure amounts are reasonable.
That's great advice. Does Onguard hand sanitizer need alcohol to sanitize?
Alcohol has been shown in clinical research to have a cleansing effect on surfaces and when used in hand sanitizers. The World Health Organization and the Center of Disease Control both strongly support the use of alcohol-based hand sanitizers. The Onguard blend is powerful on its own, but alcohol in the sanitizing mist makes it even more effective.
Alex, why use wild orange in Onguard rather than lemon or another citrus?
There's both an art and a science to formulation. When we set out to create an oil blend, we first look at the science of an individual oil to see what kinds of chemistry we're looking for and what kinds of benefits we'd like to capture. In the case of Onguard, we knew that a good amount of constituent limonene would be beneficial, both for cleansing properties and for the uplifting aroma. Wild orange is one of our citrus oils with the highest content of limonene, and it offered the particular aromatic contributions we were looking for in this blend. Other citrus oils have somewhat different chemical profiles, so this would have changed the balance of Onguard somewhat. It came down to both the art and the science of formulating this blend, as well as the oils available in our supply chain. Remember, Onguard was one of our earliest blends and represented a critical contribution to our product lineup.
Can you use Deep Blue daily, and is the rub more effective than the oil?
There is no known evidence to suggest that daily use of Deep Blue when following recommended guidelines is unsafe. The rub is not necessarily more effective, but it does offer some other benefits. Along with the Deep Blue oil blend, the added allantoin and menthol can provide increased soothing effects, and the conditioning agents help hydrate the skin. On the other hand, the oil blend is more concentrated and may offer more intense cooling.
Is it safe to use Deep Blue on kids?
You should always use extreme caution when using essential oils on kids. An application should always take place under the supervision of an adult. There is some concern about 1,8 cineol containing eucalyptus and peppermint essential used in children under the age of 3, but the research suggests that both compounds are safe for aromatic and topical use in older children as long as the guidelines are followed. A general guideline is that the younger the child, the more heavily you should dilute the oil blend. It's wise to use small amounts and apply to small areas such as the sole of the feet to make sure the oil will be well tolerated. As always, remind your children that Deep Blue oil blend is not for internal use.
So, why is the chemical PEG 100 stearate used in Deep Blue rub?
PEG 100 stearate is a very common emulsifier in cosmetics, meaning it helps the different compounds especially oil and water. Without the addition of PEG 100 stearate, the essential oil and water-based compounds in the rub would separate and not apply as effectively onto the skin. Based upon toxicology research, there does not appear to be safety concerns with the use of PEG 100 stearate or other polyethylene glycols in cosmetics that are approved for use by the FDA and the Cosmetic Ingredient Review.
That's great to know. Now, can you explain the physiological mechanism of action behind Deep Blue?
The physiological mechanism for the cooling and soothing effects primarily have to do with the two dominant terpene compounds. Methyl salicylate contributes to the sweet wintergreen aroma, and menthol is a primary component of the characteristic sharp peppermint aroma. Methyl salicylate and menthol, both individually and as components of wintergreen and peppermint essential oils, have been shown in clinical research to have musculoskeletal system soothing properties when applied topically. An abundance of clinical research substantiates menthol's profound cooling properties, specifically through its influence on TRPM8 receptors in the skin. These specific receptors are an important way that the body transmits the sensation of cold.
And what is the difference, Cecile, between the Serenity blend and the soft gel?
The Serenity blend and the soft gel are quite different in their composition because they were developed for totally different methods of application.
Oh.
The blend contains lavender, cedarwood, harewood, ylang-ylang, marjoram, Roman chamomile, vetiver, vanilla absolute, and Hawaiian sandalwood, formulated to be calming and relaxing when used aromatically and topically. From an internal use standpoint, the majority of research about calming and supporting restful sleep is focused on lavender. Little clinical research exists on this context on other oils. For this reason, the soft gels contain lavender oil and compounds such as L-theanine, lemon balm, passion flower, and chamomile extracts. And we have scientific evidence that the blend promotes relaxation when ingested. And of course, we prove the efficacy of the Serenity soft gels in our own published clinical trial.
What were the clinical trial results for the Serenity Restful Complex soft gels, and where can I read about the study?
In our randomized double-blind placebo-controlled crossover study on Serenity soft gel, published in 2017, participants reported significant improvement in falling asleep, balance, and coordination upon awakening, ease of awakening, and alertness following awakening, and compared to the placebo and wash-up periods. A review of this study can be found on the doTERRA Science blog. The full study is available to read open access and can be found by searching online using PubMed or Google Scholar.
Other than cleaning, how do you use Purify?
Purify was formulated specifically as an aromatic to replace unpleasant odors throughout the home. So, as well as having potent surface cleansing properties, Purify can be used as an alternative to other air freshening products. Due to its high concentration of limonene, Purify is also a great blend to diffuse to promote uplifting feelings.
Wow, this is so much great information, Alex and Cecile. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Will, for having us.